Hello and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. It has been a while since we've done a video like this. In fact, it's been over 2 weeks, and that's because the transfer window closed 2 weeks ago. But we are back with another insight video into one of our new players. Now, we've been trying to get this video organised and recorded for the last couple of weeks, but both myself and Dan here from Rovers Chat have both had scheduling issues. But as I was saying to Dan as we loaded in, it didn't actually matter because the player we're going to be talking about is, of course, Jack Vale. And he is still slightly out injured, but we're expecting him back in the not too distant future. In fact, as I was saying to you before we start recording, Dan, quite frankly, we are begging for him to come back with our current striker situation. So first of all, Dan, thank you so much for joining me. And I guess the kind of overall question that we just need to start on is, what kind of a player are we getting in Jack Vale?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much for having us on. Really appreciate the invite on the channel. And like you say, glad we can get it sorted. Jack Vale's a very interesting one. He's one of the strikers that you kind of see pop up a lot in Championship football, where he spends a lot of time in the 18s to 21s, scores goals for fun, really. And then everyone's kind of itching for him to get in the first team. And he gets in, and I'd say through a lack of experience and a lack of game time, because a lot of appearances came off the bench in the end, he ended up in that situation this year where if we hadn't sent him out, he'd have been stuck between playing 21s football and travelling to games, but probably not making the bench. So he was kind of in this void. And like I say, he dominated the 21s league. You know, the league we play in's got Man City, United. You know, I'm a regular watcher of it, and you see, you know, I've seen Phil Foden play at this level, Hudson-Odoi, all these players that have gone on to forge a career. So it's definitely a league full of talent. And Vale, let's be honest, he walked it through. He got 24 goals and 12 assists across 53 games at that level. 18s, he were even better in, really. And he's the striker that he needs his chances. You know, he's not going to be a one chance and finish it. He likes that running behind. You know, I've seen him play, and again, it's only 21s football, but I remember one particular game he played against Mangala from Man City, give him the run around. Against Rob Holding from Arsenal, give him the run around. And you're looking at him thinking, although he's playing at a level down, if he can come in and do this in a first team environment when he's not going to be playing a Rob Holding, he should be doing well. But it's just not worked out for him too well. He needs this loan spell where he hopefully goes and gets a couple of goals. He goes and makes a name for himself, even if it doesn't work out here, and then he gets to move off the back of it. But to actually answer your question about what kind of striker he is, I'd say he's the striker that you want to be finishing the ball that comes into the box. You get it out to your wingers. They play it low and the runs on and sweeps it home. He didn't have that last year. We didn't really play that too much, or we didn't have the players. And he was asked to do a lot of the pressing game. Rovers have implemented a really strong pressing game, and ultimately it's just not worked for him. And now there's another young lad ahead of him. We've signed a striker, so he's already fourth of his choice before he's even actually had any game time, because he's been out injured.
It sounds like he's, at the start of this season, been in a very similar position to a lad that we've currently got, Freddie Draper. He is a lad who has kind of been in the youth teams, has had a loan over in Ireland last season, but we just thought it was going to be too soon to have him in and around the first team picture fully, because realistically, he's played games for us in the past, but if we'd have started or had him in the first team picture this season, it would have likely been third choice minimum. And that just, obviously in hindsight, that's not quite how it would be right now. But we sent him out on loan now to Walsall in League Two, and he's doing really well. So these kind of loans are big for players like that, aren't they?
Massive.
It's very interesting that you picked out kind of, because I've also made a note of some of his stats in the Premier League too, you know, in the under-21s. And what I found really interesting was back in the 21-22 season, he had 14 games in the Premier League 2 and got 12 goals. An incredibly impressive record. And for any, like you say, that, yes, it's still maybe youth football, but that is the top tier of youth football. That is as good as you can get. And then he obviously went into the National League in that same season for the second half of the season, I'm assuming, to go to Halifax on loan.
Yeah.
And he played 10 games, 6 starts, and got 1 goal. Now, obviously, you may not have necessarily seen him at Halifax, but you'd have seen him obviously in the 550 minutes or whatever he played in the Championship for you guys last season. Does he look like a player that may be somewhat out of his depth in senior football, but youth football is at the minute the level is at? Because my worry is that there are some players who will absolutely excel at youth level. And the minute they then get into senior men's football, it just looks like they've got no ability at all compared to what they do have when they can show it more in youth football. Is that a worry with Jack Vale, or do you think that's just something he'll grow more into the men's game, the senior football, and he'll be able to find maybe not quite as good a form as he did in the youth football, but somewhat similar?
I think it is. I think Rovers, for anyone who doesn't know, Blackburn Rovers are a very academy-heavy side. We've had 15 players feature already this year from the academy. Obviously, some of them came in the cup, but we're very academy-heavy, and we've had them over the years. Dan Butterworth, who's now at Carlisle, struggled in the Championship, but then he went to League One, and do you know what? He actually did a job last year at Port Vale, and probably could have had a bit of a better run. Sam Burns, we've had, who went on loan to League Two, struggled, and he's now in non-league. So there's such a mix of these young lads. I completely agree with the ones who they play youth football, look like the next best thing, and then suddenly they go up and the game changes, doesn't it? It all becomes something else. It's a livelihood, isn't it, in senior football? And I feel for Vale, it's kind of the standard thing you hear from Malone, but it's true that he needs that loan spell where he gets the confidence, even if it's not scoring goals, if it's getting a run in the side, he's getting trusted by the manager. He needs that. We can't afford to give him that because the manager's got the expectations of the fans on his back for a playoff side, which we unfortunately didn't reach last year, but he just needs that spell where he can go and get some goals, and he's definitely got the eye for goal. I don't think you lose that eye for the goal that he had. I just feel that he's got to go into a system that suits him well, and hopefully Lincoln does, because we've done it with loans before where we've sent them out on loan and they've barely featured and everyone's wondering why not. So, yeah, it's confidence for Jack. I think he's got the talent. He just needs that loan spell, and maybe it's just a loan spell that gets him a move to a club in League One next year. For me, that should be his aim, and if he ends up back at us, then fair play to him. But I feel this can be a move that kind of gets him that springboard into professional football.
I think this is the thing, we talk about it a lot. We've got a young lad in a centre half in from Millwall on loan this season, and we've also got somebody in from Coventry who both of them were close but not quite ready for the first team football. And it's kind of the conversations I was having with fans of their clubs of actually these are the perfect kind of loan moves because it benefits every single party. As a League One club, don't get me wrong, you want the Premier League's best youngster to come on loan to your team. Of course you do. But actually that's not the way it works. And it allows us to build up a relationship with yourselves. It allows us to build up a relationship with players because we can show, look, this is what we can do for you. If you put in the effort, we'll put in the effort to support you. It'll also support the parent club. It might be able to help them get a move or whatever it might be, but it benefits every single party. That's the way the loan market is going now because, there's more money going into the top level of youth football. So the loan market is very much when it's mutually beneficial for every single party. And I like to see that.
And as well, we've had the loan spell of Scott Wharton at Lincoln previously,
of course.
Has gone on to be a regular part of the Rovers first team. Maybe not this year, but he's definitely developed into the player we expected, and that's because of the 4 loan spells that he had. A really good clubs that wanted to develop in and wanted to build that relationship. And like you say, hopefully we can do the same here with Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one other thing I wanted to touch on with Jack Vale before we kind of talk about Blackburn as a whole. Now, you kind of already touched about it. He touched on it in the fact that he is somebody that he'll put the ball away if you can get the ball into the box to him. And maybe his work at pressing isn't quite as good. Now, that's slightly disappointing to hear because our striker is expected to do a lot of work. He's expected to do a lot of pressing, a lot of running. Hopefully, Jack will be able to do that at this level, and it'll be nice to see. But one thing I wanted to pick up on, in his 548 minutes he played in the Championship last season, obviously he didn't get a goal, which, is a young lad playing mostly off the bench in the Championship is expected. But he also only had 0.4 XG. Now, I kind of wanted to ask the question, was that, and you sort of answered earlier, was that just the fact that delivery into him wasn't quite what he'd have wanted, or was it more the fact that he struggled to really do much on his own and create many chances?
I'd say it's a mixture, really. We saw him play at Blackpool earlier in the season, and there were a couple of counter-attacks that Rovers would get, and Jack Vale would bring us forward, and he did really well with it, and he's shown them glimpses. I think part of it is the issue we had out wide. We really struggled to get someone who could actually deliver a quality ball, in which even your best strikers can't score if they don't get the service. I feel with Jack, the 2 goals he got in the Cup kind of showed what he's about. The West Ham, he scored at West Ham where we played a good through ball through the middle and he just ran on, put it past the keeper. And then we scored at Norwich where our attacking midfielder won the ball back and he kind of just stood there with an open net in front of him. But that's Jack Vale, that whenever I've seen him at 21 level, he's not going to go and beat 4 and put the ball in the net. Give him the ball, let him take a touch, fire it off, and that's what suits him best. Now, you mentioned the pressing aspect that Lincoln have. I wonder if the loan spells, maybe Rovers play that style, Lincoln play a similar style. Yeah. Can we force him to be that one? Can he go and learn it at a club where he's going to face lesser defences, let's be honest? Can he go and learn it there and kind of develop that understanding and come back to us? Because Rovers' loan spells in the past have been, like I said, other than Scott Wharton and our current centre-back Hayden Carter, they've been naff, if I'm being kind. We usually send strikers out and they don't play, so hopefully it's kind of letting go on loan to a club that are trying to play a similar way to us.
I definitely think at the minute we're going to have no choice and he's going to have to play. So as soon as he is back fit, obviously he'll do some kind of match fitness work, I'm sure, and then he'll end up playing minutes almost definitely purely out of nobody else, and hopefully he then can excel in that kind of opportunity he's given. And like I say, that it's loans like this where our club will turn around and say to him, look, you've got to take this opportunity. Blackburn will be turning around and saying to him, you've got to take this opportunity. There's only one player that can then take the opportunity at the end of the day, and that is Jack Vale himself. So it'll be really interesting to see how that kind of pans out, and obviously we're really hoping that he can come back to you guys next summer twice the player he already seems to be. Speaking of that then, next summer, I always like to, when we do this, I always like to kind of ask the parent clubs of our loanees, whereabouts where's kind of the minimum you'd want to be? Where's kind of the expectation for where you're going to be? And then I guess what's the highest you're kind of hoping for? Where do you see yourself at the end of this season?
I think we'll still be a championship club. I think we'll be one. Last year we missed out on goal difference on the playoffs on the last day.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll be in that pack that aren't good enough for the playoffs, but are nowhere near bad enough to go down, really. I think we'll be a club that we've had financial issues this summer, so the money's kind of sat there that we know we're getting money next year as well, probably from a former player, David Raya at Arsenal. So we're kind of in this situation now where if we can ride it through to next summer, can we be in that position to go and spend that money that we couldn't this year because we knew we had financial issues? So it's very unclear at the moment whether the issues clear up in terms of our ownership will kind of determine where Jack is, because just a point on last year, when he started the first few games of the season, Jack probably wouldn't have started if Rovers could have bought a striker. He was kind of the option to start because we were missing a striker. So when we miss players or when we can't afford players, that's when these academy lads come and get the go.
Yeah.
So we're kind of sat there next year thinking, well, if we've money to spend, does Jack have the future?
Yeah.
If we don't have money to spend, do we have a choice of whether we actually use him or not?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair enough. And I guess at the end of the day, the best thing that Jack can do for you guys next year, if you're going to be out there spending, the best thing he can do is put himself in the shop window so that you realise actually you don't necessarily need to, you can prioritise other areas. And it's something we're talking about a lot with Freddie Draper at the minute. As I mentioned, he's out on loan at League Two Walsall and he's already got a couple of goals and a couple of assists. And we were kind of talking about the fact if he kept up this run and he maybe got 10 goals, 10 assists, or something like that throughout the whole season, then actually we'd be, if he wasn't our player, we'd be sat there saying, oh, well, why aren't we signing somebody like him?
Yeah, I know.
And that's what Jack Vale needs to do for you guys at the end of the day, is to kind of say, well, actually, if he wasn't ours, we'd be looking and saying, well, we should maybe get him. He'd be on the short list. And if he's on the short list and he's already yours, then it puts him right at the very top of it, doesn't it? So it'll be really interesting to sort of see whether or not, obviously, like I say, he takes the opportunity, and then obviously how you guys get on this season, and if you are in that kind of seventh to 11th kind of area again, like you say, this is maybe a bit of a holding pattern year. Wait until next season, and then you can kick on from there, can't you?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's weird because in his head, he'd almost want us to have a poor season, and then we need to bring him in. But
yeah,
for the club, we obviously need this good year. I feel with Jack, like you say, he's got to put himself in that window where if he doesn't stay at Rovers, he goes to a League One side and gets moved. Dan Butterworth did it with Port Vale last year. You know, they were not, unless he'd got 20 goals, we were kind of never having him back. And he just made his point in League One that, look, I can compete at this level. I'm a raw product. I might need that time. But a club, Colin, went in for him, got him, and now he's kind of their asset to build. So it's more on a personal level of just making sure he keeps himself, you know, in the shot window for League One, if not us.
Yeah, 100%. And it very much harks back onto the whole point we were talking about earlier, in the fact that it's a loan like this really benefits all parties, ourselves, yourselves, and Jack Vale, if it goes well. And if it doesn't, it then negatively affects all parties. So it's one of those things where it's very much we'll all be in it together to try and get him back and firing, if you like. Well, Dan, thank you so much for giving us some incredible insight there into Mr. Vale. And like I say, yeah, really good luck for this season. Hopefully you can, like I say, if your aspirations aren't necessarily for top six, hopefully you can just maybe even sneak into that sixth place. But if not, just, like I say, keep yourself in that kind of holding pattern of this year, be kind of mid-table and set yourself up for next year. So yeah, like I say, good luck.
No, thank you very much, and thanks for having us on, and hopefully Lincoln have a good year as well. Obviously the West Ham game coming up. Won't mind if you knock them out after we did last year. It'd be maybe Jack can be fit by the time it's on, and he can go and get another.
I hope so. Yeah, I certainly hope so. It's going to be one hell of a night that night. But yes, guys, please make sure to go over and check out Dan on Rovers Chat. And like I said, good luck for the whole season, and thanks all for watching.